Okay, so we've got a plan for our research section of our project. How do we actually go about doing research? Now, the really important thing when you're researching is it's not just about cutting and pasting lots of information and putting it in to your own report. There's two things that you can do when you're researching. You can quote material from other sources, but if you do that, you need to make it really clear that you're quoting, that it's not your own writing. And the other thing you can do is what we call paraphrase, which is where you read something and then you summarize it in your own words. And basically, those two techniques, paraphrasing and quoting, are the main ones you're going to use when you're doing your research. You'll be looking at some sources, some of the information you just need to quote, and other bits you need to rewrite in your own words. So if you're quoting or paraphrasing, you'll also need to include a citation. A citation is a reference to where you found your information. And there are various different techniques you can use for generating citations, and I'm going to show you some of them here. So for my project, I'm actually going to start doing some research on this section. Programs for children that use philosophy. So I'm going to have a look at some courses that have been designed for using philosophy. The first thing to notice is up here, if you're working on Google Docs, there's a fantastic Explore tool. So you click on Tools, click on Explore, and you'll see a sidebar pops up, and you can put some search terms in here. So something like philosophy for children, maybe. And a whole lot of websites come up which you could actually start researching. So it's quite a powerful tool for helping you with your research. If you're not on Google Docs, then what you could do is split your screen and pull up a browser on the one side so you can do some browsing and research at the same time. Now, I'm going to actually use this page, the outline of the philosophy schools philosophy certificate course outline, this document from the NCH website, as one of my sources. So let's assume I found this, however I've done it using a browser or the Explore tool, and I'm going to have a look at this, and I want to use some of this information in my project. So here's a section here at the beginning with the course aims, and maybe I want to actually quote that in my research report. So this information here, if I took all of that and wanted to copy and paste it into my report, I'd have to make really clear that it was a quotation. Okay, so I'll take just the first sentence just to show you how it might work. If I copy that and go back to my document, I might start off by saying a course that teaches students philosophy is the school certificate in philosophy. One of the aims is, and here I'll paste in my information that I found. And because that's a quotation, I'm going to put it in quote marks to make it really clear that I didn't actually just write that myself. Okay. And it's quite a good idea to separate quotes from other texts by maybe putting them in italics, or you could put them in a smaller font. So you can see there that there's a bit I wrote here, which is my own writing, so I don't need to put that in quote marks. And then there's a bit here that I've just taken from someone else, another source. So that needs to be in quote marks. It needs to be really clear. Research isn't just cut and paste. It's all about thinking about the sources, rewriting them in your own words, and if you do want to cut and paste, make sure it's clear that it's a quote. Now, another thing that the Google Explore tool does for you, which I think is fantastic, is it will create the citations. So if I go back to the page that I used, you can see there's a web link there. So I'm just going to copy that, take it back to my document, paste it in up here, press enter, and you'll see that the search engine has found the page I was using. Now if I put my cursor there at the end of my quote and go back here, you see when I drag the cursor over to the side, a quote button appears. And if I click on that quote button, then at the bottom of my page, I get the citation. Citations are really important when you're doing research reports. They're important for a couple of reasons. One is that they give credibility to your research, because it's clear if you've cited your sources that you haven't just made information up, that you've based it on hopefully credible, good, reliable sources. And the other reason that citations are important is it's polite. I've made use of some writing here that somebody else produced, and so I want to actually acknowledge that. I want to actually cite my source and not pretend that I made it all up myself. So citations are an important part of your research. And incidentally, you should include a citation if you've quoted, but even if you've paraphrased a source, even if you've rewritten some of it in your own words, you still need to cite it, because that information was still based on another source. So if I go back to this document here and take a bit here, it says students are expected to learn through inquiry, participation in group discussion, and independent research. Suppose I wanted to say a bit about that. I might summarize this in my own words now by saying, in this course, students are asked to participate in discussion and argument. That's a kind of paraphrase of the bit that I just read. So that's based on the source as well. So again, I need a citation. So I go back over here, I click, and I can have another citation. Of course, in this case, it's from the same source. So remember, key things with research. Number one, separate quotes from paraphrases. It's absolutely fine to take material and use it word for word, but if you do that, you need to make sure that's in quote marks. Otherwise, your task in research is to read a source, think about it, and put it in your own words. And the next key thing is to cite your sources. And I've showed you a little technique for doing that with the Explore tool. If you're using another word processor and don't have access to Google Docs, then what I recommend is you look for an automatic citation generator. There's great websites out there which will do the citations for you. One that's very easy to use is called Easybib. And if you put your sources into Easybib, it will build a list of citations and a bibliography for you, which you can then just paste into your project. So if you're using Google Docs, it's incredibly easy. If you're not, use an automatic citation generator like Easybib.